Hello, everyone, both over Zoom, 17 participants, that's great, and in person. Such a pleasure to be here with you all. My name is Peter Ortiz, and I'm your new council member for District 5, East San Jose. And I'm so proud to represent such a diverse community, both culturally and economically. And I also just want to thank District 5 United for inviting me here to speak, especially for your first in-person meeting. It truly is an honor to be here with you all. I just wanted to start a little bit about, start with sharing my own story, so you know about who I am and my background so that you can understand what motivates me to both be an activist and be a legislator here with the city of San Jose. I was born and raised right here in East San Jose, born at Alexian Brothers Hospital, then Alexian Brothers Hospital, now Regional Medical Center, and actually was raised right here in the McKee and White neighborhood. The youngest of three boys, son to a single mother who worked actually two different jobs in order to provide for myself and my brothers. And her main job was working at Kaiser as a healthcare worker. And it was thanks to my mother, who was very involved in her union, a proud member of SEIU. She was able to maintain rent, literally as a single mother for three boys, keep food on the table and keep a roof over our heads. And it was her involvement and activism with her bargaining unit and local where I first got my introduction into advocacy and activism. I used to go down to her work site and protest with her fellow bargaining members in the picket line. And that's where I realized that when working people come together, we're able to bring new benefits for our community, especially when we come together here in Eastside San Jose, which is where I got my start here in local politics, is community organizing. And this really instilled in me what I like to call working class values. And it's also what pushes me when I'm on the dais and make my decisions to this day. I'm not, I come from a non-traditional background. My first job was a dishwasher, and then I moved up to be a janitor. So I started my career in the service industry. And it's given me a different perspective than I would say your average elected officials come to the dais with. Like many in our city, I had to get a job at a young age, started working at the age of 15 in order to help pay for stuff for my home, in order to make sure that our family could survive. And that work ethic is really what shapes my perspective on things that come before my desk and when I vote on issues. I'm proud to be one of the 5% of elected officials nationally who are renters. And I'm, one of the only council members on our city council who is a renter. And I believe this is a very important perspective. I think that both youth voices and renter voices have been left at a political discourse, because my generation, we grew up here, we love this place, but we also are starting to realize that unless things change, we're never going to be able to afford a house here, let alone, rent. Before I was on city council, now I'm getting paid more, but rent was going over 50% of my income as a nonprofit worker. So this perspective, I think, is important for many in our neighborhoods who are being pushed out of our city due to displacement and gentrification. And it's vital that we have a voice in decision-making places, especially on City Hall. And it's my goal to continue to be that voice. I take pride in saying that I went to Independence High School, which is right here on Jackson Avenue. Do we have any Sixers here? No? All right, there we go. At Eastside Union High School District Public School. Education is very important to me. It's why I ran for office initially and served on the Mount Pleasant School District, and then the County Board of Education. And it's why now I continue to prioritize working with our educational leaders and partners to support the academic success of our children, since they are the future of our city. I truly believe that. My background, as I mentioned, is truly the exception to the rule when it comes to elected officials or quote unquote politicians, though it mirrors many of our residents who grew up here in San Jose, especially in East San Jose. Intentional policies and practices such as redlining, underfunded public schools in East San Jose, systemic disinvestment in our neighborhoods, right? Throughout District 5, District 7, and District 3 have historically undermined, I believe, the progress of our communities here on the East Side. And that's why when you see me on the council, I've tried to introduce literally a memo every week, whether it was advocating to get funding for the rejuvenation of our Lake Cunningham, or whether it was advocating, which did pass into the budget, traffic safety, specifically the Vision Zero plan to be funded by the budget. I understand that East San Jose has a long way to catch up in order to provide the same amount of resources and services that other districts are able to enjoy and maybe even take for granted, I would say. That means pushing for strong anti-displacement policies with renter protections that keep families in homes, as well as keeping businesses within their storefronts, are important to me. Our small businesses, whether it's our immigrant, Latino, Vietnamese, Portuguese businesses, they in many cases have been the #1 employer in East San Jose. They hire local people and they serve our local residents, whether it's Mexico Bakery, fish and chips right there in the Mount Pleasant neighborhood. I remember going to these places since I was a kid, and it's important that we retain that culture and history within our neighborhoods, because they've been the anchor of our neighborhoods. I want to prioritize more affordable housing and supportive housing, but I want to do so in a way that's sensible, that's on transportation avenues and in partnership with the community, right? I don't want to develop without public meetings, without meeting with neighborhood leaders, because really it needs to be a team effort, right? We don't want to be divisive. We don't want to burden our current residents with the development of new residents. So I want to make sure I'm working with everyone as the city continues to prioritize, because we're building everywhere. It's not just in East San Jose. I want to make sure that affordable housing and supportive housing is everywhere, but we gotta do it together as a team. These decisions can't be made on the 18th floor in a vacuum. They need to be made in rooms like this with our hardworking residents. It means systemically tackling the neglect our city has had towards blight. I'm sure that you all in your neighborhood see the trash, the couches, the beds that are just thrown on the side of the streets, graffiti, of course, the illegal dumping, making sure that living in a clean neighborhood isn't just a luxury for just our most expensive neighborhoods to live in. Our families pay a lot to live here. The cost of living is extremely expensive. Our family's not trash, so they shouldn't come out of their home and see trash. We should have a standard of quality life here in East San Jose. And it means also investing in public safety, and that means, I support current budget, hiring 30 more officers. Our police department is very much understaffed. I know a lot of people are frustrated with the response times, but I know that unless we're going to be hiring more police, providing training for those police officers, making sure that we're doing background checks, mental health checks on them. But there's no question that our families are being impacted due to break-ins, car break-ins, businesses are being robbed. We need to hire more officers, and both police officers and fire department firefighters in order to respond to our public safety crisis. However, I don't think that's the only answer to the overall conversation, right? It needs to be police, and police respond to crimes, right? But they're not going to prevent crimes, right? The only thing that can do that is an expansion of services and programs, right? Making sure that we fund youth intervention programs in our gang impacted areas, expanding library hours. We submitted a memo to expand library hours, as well as library tutoring, mentorship programs that look like they're going to be accepted in the budget, right? Because these libraries are safe spaces for our families, they're safe spaces for our youth, and they could save lives. This is a place where if a parent like my mom, she worked 2 jobs, I didn't have a safe place to go. This provides a safe place for our youth to be in a productive environment where they could educate themselves and participate in activities that are productive. And I truly believe that there is talent and leadership in every home, in every apartment building, and in every single East San Jose school. None of our kids should be slipping through the cracks. No family member. We can't afford losing any of our family members, right? And it's the city's responsibility to partner with our school districts to make sure that we are providing those services to save those life of our children who may be going down the wrong path, drugs or alcohol, or God forbid, even gang violence. Now, I know this as someone who's personally, my life was impacted by gang violence because it was the people on the city staff who provided, whether it was the Clean Slate program, gang intervention programs, as well as my family, who showed me an alternative path for myself, right? I was former gang involved about 10 years ago. I changed my life around, and I know that there's youth here in East San Jose who could do the same thing and be down the right path. So I lead with these principles because I believe the status quo in our city has set up our district for failure, right? Unless we're challenging that status quo, unless we're pushing for the city to think of innovative ways to address blight, graffiti, and crime in our area, the status quo is not going to save us. It's not going to prevent these issues from impacting our families, right? And it's going to take the right leadership, but it's also going to take partnering with District 5 United, neighborhood leaders, whether it's MPNA, the Cassell Neighborhood Association, Plata Royal, and find neighborhood leaders like yourself. One council member can't fix this issue, right? All the problems in East San Jose wasn't created by one council member, and it can't be fixed by one council member. It needs to create, and we need to have a coalition all come together to make sure that we are providing the resources for our families, our small businesses, and our youth to be successful. So I'm looking forward to partner with you. I work for you. I have a public service mindset and I want to make sure that we are focusing on solutions. So happy to answer any questions. I've shared a little bit about who I am, what I'm prioritizing, and I hope to learn more about you as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilperson. My name is Rachel Welch. I'm native of San Jose. So yes, I've seen a lot of changes, positive and negative in my community. Unfortunately, the one that's been mostly on my mind for 40 plus years is Reed Hillview Airport. Yeah. We had another crash a few months back. And thank goodness the Board of Supervisors finally made a decision to close Reed Hillview. But that's not going to be for many years, and I probably won't be here by the time it closes. And I asked urgently, please, in the meantime, to consider having a curfew at the airport. The airport is 24/7, flying over the schools, my home, the community. And the International has a curfew, and I see no reason why we cannot do the same. At least thank you. So the children can at least have, in the evenings, they can have time with their parents and do their homework in peace without those planes flying over and without the lead gas flying over them too, and the noise. I have tested positive for lead, and I know many community members have as well. So I've already spoken to Mr. Congressman Rocana and asked him to please help me with this issue, to plead with the Board of Supervisors to please at least have a curfew at that airport. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that very important question. I support the closure of the Reed Hillview Airport. No, I definitely, support the removal of the airport, the closing of the airport. I know that's been controversial in our areas, but like you said, I believe in prioritizing families and residents of my district. That's who's elected me, and their health is my number one priority. We have schools right in that vicinity. People have been impacted by the lead, and it's impacting a lot of us here on the east side. And that's a fine example of environmental racism and injustice. And I understand. I've heard the other side of the opinion. I obviously we need to have pipelines to careers in the pilot career. However, it shouldn't be on the backs of working people in District 5. I've spoken with Supervisor Chavez several times about the airport. I was involved. I knocked on doors when the campaign was going on to close it. I called in. We haven't talked about a cutoff time for the planes, happy to bring that up. I'm happy to reach out to her about it. I've been, me and her have already talked about how we're going to partner on that item. Technically, the airport is in District 5, but the land hasn't been, I don't think the land has been annexed yet, but it's in the vicinity of where my district would be. It's just county property right now. So all of the decisions would have to be me advocating to the county for them to set up some sort of cutoff time. And I think that's a fair ask. You're right. There shouldn't be people, I don't live right there. I live right here, Story and White. So I see the planes when I go by, but I don't hear them like you do. I wasn't aware that they were flying, late at night. So that to me is the issue, and I'm happy to advocate for it.
Thank you. And I have contacted Cindy Chavez, but I got no response.
Okay.
I've also sent this to Zoe Lofgren.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Please consider.
Well, I'm happy to, set up a meeting with the supervisor, and happy to invite you to that conversation since, you're both of our constituents, and hopefully we could draft a solution to that, because if we're already planning on sunsetting the airport, we should start also reducing the activity at the airport as well. So it's an easy transition. Thank you all. Appreciate it. And, look forward to working together to improve East San Jose.